One theme that we see when we're working with people here at NOCD is sexual orientation OCD, or SO-OCD. Used to be called HOCD, but it's really not an appropriate name because HOCD implied that I was afraid that I was going to be homosexual. But there are individuals who are homosexual who are afraid, what if I were to be straight? So sexual orientation OCD turns out to be a better name for it than HOCD. So going forward, that's how we'll refer to it, as SO-OCD. Now, when we're talking about sexual orientation OCD, we're talking about a fear of what if I'm something that I don't identify as? And many people then are afraid that they've been living a life a certain way, they're very adjusted to that life, maybe they're even in a relationship in the orientation that they've identified with, and suddenly this doubt comes into their head about, but what if I'm not? Or what if I find myself suddenly attracted to somebody of the same gender or the opposite gender? Or what if I identify maybe one day as bisexual and I like people of both? Or what if I'm not even sure that I have a gender anymore? And there's so many different ways that this might occur. So what we're dealing with individuals is allowing them to be able to sit with the discomfort that they have about what if they were something that they were not. And I want to spend a moment specifically on those two words, what if. OCD loves those words. It's what if followed by the worst case scenario you can possibly think of. And when I say worst case scenario, it doesn't mean awful, horrible, tragic, deadly, or something like that. It means, for me, I'm suddenly not what I think I am when it's an SOCD kind of thing. Or maybe there's this notion that I could somehow change and become something different just like that out of the blue. And how do I have a guarantee that that isn't going to happen? And of course, the answer is none of us have a guarantee that that is or isn't going to happen. I mean, I have no idea what my future might be like. Someday, something might change in my life. Maybe how my orientation is, what my belief system is, or all those kinds of things. I have no guarantee about it. But I'm also not letting that interfere with my life. And that would be the goal that we try to do when we're working with somebody who has sexual orientation OCD. We want them to realize just because these thoughts are popping into their head, or maybe there's some images that they're having about being with a person who they don't currently identify as someone that they would typically be with, that they can handle those things, that those things don't have to mean anything negative. It could be as simple as you're watching a movie and you find somebody to be attractive or handsome or pretty or something like that, and they maybe are not the typical person that you would be attracted to or find pretty or beautiful. And that might cause doubt in your head about, does that mean something? Well, the answer is no, it doesn't have to mean anything whatsoever. We can identify many people, no matter what their race, gender, orientation, stature, class, whatever it is. We can find so many people, all sorts of things. Beautiful, attractive, pretty, handsome. Doesn't really matter, right? But OCD says, wait, that does matter, because there are certain people that you're not supposed to be attracted to. And why? Because you don't identify as being the kind of person who likes that type of person. So, for example, if you're a male and you are married to a woman and you have children and you're very happy in your relationship, and then you're watching a video and there's a male on there and you think, wow, he's got great eyes. And then something pops in your head that says, wait, why did I think he has great eyes? Why was I looking at his eyes? What does that mean about me that I'm looking at his eyes? Oh my gosh, does that mean that I'm attracted to him? If I'm attracted to him, does that mean that I now have to leave my wife and my children because now I have to be with a man because I find him attractive? Well, the answer, of course, is no. There's nothing wrong with finding him attractive. But OCD will say, yes, there is something wrong with that. And now, you know what we should do? Hours and hours and hours and hours of investigation to see if it's really true that you do like this person or that you should stay with your family. And let's just throw chaos into your life and get you to have to do all sorts of research and everything. This could lead people to do all sorts of things. They might now start watching pornography of a certain type to see if they find some interest in it or attraction to it. They may look at pictures of people or individuals to see and test themselves to see if there's any attraction to them. They might even report what you hear in the OCD world a lot, a groinal. What's a groinal? A feeling down down there in your genitals that you don't think that you should be having when you're in the midst of certain people or looking at certain pictures or watching certain videos or things of that nature. And OCD will use anything that it says shouldn't happen as proof that you must be this other thing than you've identified yourself as. So if I am a male who identifies as straight again, and I see someone who's a male and I think their eyes look nice, and I report to, or I notice in myself a little bit of a feeling down there, that might be even more proof to me, boy, maybe I actually do want to be with that person, with that male with those nice eyes, because why else would I have that feeling down there unless it were true and real, and now my orientation actually is changing. I think you can see from all these examples how difficult this can actually be for people who get so consumed with the notion that I am something or I might become something that I've never identified as before. The good thing is there's treatment available for this, and we can help people with sexual orientation OCD, and we can help them by doing exposure and response prevention therapy, and we can teach them that though these thoughts or images or urges may pop into their head, they don't actually have to mean anything whatsoever. So I might have a thought in my head right now, there's camera crews behind me, that maybe we'll hold hands later. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm very much doubting it, but the thought doesn't make it happen and doesn't cause it to happen. And I want people to recognize that. And we can go from small ERP experiences like that all the way up to maybe I could drive through a gay neighborhood. I grew up in Chicago, and there's an area in Chicago called Boys Town, and I could drive through that, and just because I do doesn't mean suddenly that I'm now going to become a different orientation than I've identified myself as before. That's the kind of thing we want to help people recognize, is that you don't have to be afraid of a thought or an image or an urge, and it isn't going to make something happen or cause you to change who you are or the essential being of yourself or anything of that nature. And when people are comfortable with the fact that just because something pops in my head doesn't mean it's true, that's when they start to feel better. So if you're looking for help, reach out to NOCD. You can download the NOCD app, or you can go to treatmyocd.com or nocd.com. You can click the button for talking to a therapist. Our care team will then speak to you and will assess how teletherapy for OCD with an OCD trained therapist through NOCD could be best for you.